Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome to this episode of Complaint Free Life. My name is Estelle, and today's topic is going to be about a good person syndrome. And I know that I made it up the syndrome part because I don't think any specialist would say there is a syndrome such as a good person. But I kept wondering when I heard from many of my coachees and myself as well, is that we seem to have this idea of if we are a good person, we're not supposed to be doing certain things, or we are supposed to be doing certain things, and how much of that influences the way we live our lives. And that's what I wanted to talk about. And I wanted you to consider for yourself asking these questions and also finding answers. So, do you consider yourself to be a good person? If so, why? What makes you a good person? Or what makes you not a bad person? Whichever way you feel comfortable answering that. Is it important for you to be seen as a good person, and why? So, as I said, that a lot of conversations that I have with my coaches, where whenever we start digging into what beliefs they have and why they have them, somewhere along the lines, there seems to be this belief that we are supposed to be a good person on this planet. And I think, in a way, it's a wonderful thing to do. Yet, I also see that that is bringing some of the limitations that people place on themselves, and they have probably never asked themselves why that is that they are limiting themselves, right? Or what do they even mean when they say that they are wanting to be a good person at any cost, so to say. So please note that this is not going to be a philosophical topic of what is good and what is bad, even though I think if you have time, you should totally check that out as well. But I'm not really good at philosophy. I'm more down to earth, very practical way of understanding what we mean when we say things. So, what we mean to be a good person when we talk about ourselves or when we talk about other people. Do we also mean that we are trying to justify our actions or someone else's actions by saying that, oh, we're a good person and therefore um, we get away from certain responsibilities, or we mean something else, right? So, the way that I have been discovering this more with other coaches, that it seems like an umbrella term that contains a lot of things. So when we say a good person, we mean a lot of things under it. So some of the things that my coaches have told me, and also my understanding that I inherited from my family, which I will talk about a bit more, uh, seem to be the following. So a good person means that I need to be nice and kind to others, and others should like me, and that's key. So notice that. Another one might be I should avoid hurting, offending anyone. I should get along with everyone. And here the key is I should get along with everyone. Another one might be I always respect others, elderly or people in the hierarchy, to a point that if my opinion contradicts, I may not really voice them because of out of respect, right? Or another might be I can pursue what I really want in life because of my family or because other people wouldn't approve, or whether other people would think that I'm not a good person by wanting something that might contradict what my family wants or others in the community, even. And as I said, the other one is everyone should just get along and live in harmony because that's what good people do. And good people never mean anything bad, they don't have bad intentions. So these are the things that come up when we talk about what it is to be a good person or how I understand it. Now, knowing all of this or thinking about it, you may also consider for yourself to define finally what you mean when you say you are a good person. Now, we're not really talking about not killing someone or not stealing, and because those are the things I think most of us universally agree, and that's not up for debate really. But we're talking more about what's the influence of thinking that we are supposed to be a good person and how that's affecting our lives, right? So, therefore, defining what we mean by wanting to be a good person or desire to have that um, understanding and self image of a good person or thinking of others a good person. And that might be very helpful to also understand what your beliefs might be about it or around it. And that could equally be interesting to look at what we mean when we say someone is a bad person, right? If we're labeling someone as a bad person, then that would be also interesting to understand in which circumstances we'd label people as bad and what is the consequence of that labeling as well. So, as I said, for me, my understanding of being a good person, even though I haven't really thought about it in recent times, but when I think about my childhood and what I inherited from my parents, the main uh, component of being a good person was for my parents to say something and make decisions that would influence and impact everyone else, and we were not allowed to discuss or contradict or counter argue. And whenever that would happen, then we were considered not good people or good children, right? So I inherited that as well, obviously. And then once I started working and working with other people, especially when I had people under my supervision, for instance, I realized how much of that was influencing me because I didn't really know how to handle counter arguments or discuss things because I grew up with this idea that good people in harmonious relationships, they don't do certain things. So I've I was so puzzled yet also amazed how much of that term of being a good person was influencing the way I showed up in life. So I decided that for me, I wish to redefine what I inherited from my parents and let go of that as well, but also redefine for myself what I would consider a being good person and what I would strive towards it um, for my own life. So for me, good person would mean, so if I'm trying to be a good person, let's say, excuse me, then first and foremost, it would have to be about being honest with myself and being able to tell my own truth to myself and to others. And that would be being a good person because I'm not trying to deceive or tell lies to myself or to others in the name of um, being a good person, but rather I'm doing it because I want to be a good person. And another big component is to live in integrity in all areas of my life. And that's, I would consider, a good person would do, right? Take responsibility is another component of being a good person. So, in other words, I would never have to justify certain behaviors of mine because I'm a good person, but rather I know why I did it, because of which I did it, and that I take full responsibility for my own actions. And I don't need any good person justification for it. And also, letting other people do the same, right? So letting them take responsibility for their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own actions, and not thinking that, oh, he or she is a good person, therefore he or she is not supposed to be doing this, because that would again be about my expectation and my understanding of what a good person is. But their understanding of what a good person is, of course, can differ, and that's okay. So, and to remain curious in life and be motivated to live a life out of freedom and confidence in life rather than out of fear. And that I think would also make me a good person if I could achieve that. So, these are the things that I came up with that are important for me to put it under the umbrella of being a good person. And I highly recommend that you do your own as well, based on your own religious beliefs, individual attitude to life, cultural, and many other backgrounds that you have. How would you define your own concept of being a good person? And then once we define it, then we could ask ourselves, how is it now applied to our everyday lives? What does that mean to be living that person? So in my case, it would be whether I'm living an honest life, whether I'm trusting myself and trusting life, right? Whether I'm taking responsibility, and whether I'm also letting others take their own responsibilities and not keep expecting them to be good persons and therefore act according to my understanding of a good person. And then when you have your definition, and in your definition, you come up with something like, I need to be nice and kind, and I should be liked by others, it might be very important to ask why, and whether this is because of wanting to be a good person, or whether you want to be getting approval from others all the time. And if the answer is yes, getting approval from others all the time, then the question is why again, right? Because as soon as we put ourselves into that position of dependency in the name of being a good person, then we might be suffering under it, and others in that relationship may be suffering as well. So notice that. I just want you to be aware that whatever your definition of a good person does not lead you to be making decisions out of fear, meaning out of fear of offending the other person or out of fear of not being approved by someone else, but rather out of confidence and freedom to choose what you would like to do and knowing your reasons why you're doing it. So I hope that you will give it a try or consider these, and also let me know how what you came up with, what your definition is, whether you learned about yourself on the process of asking these questions, and see how it may have influenced your life up to now, and how you can also make changes in the future if you'd like to. And if you'd like to work with me on this, I'm happy to do that in an individual session. So sign up for a free coaching session, and we can look at all of this and see how best you can define and also uh, implement that definition of being a good person and enjoy being a good person. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.